We now return to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, Episode 5, The Adventure of the Unspeakable Story, the Hound of the Baskervilles. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal had ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smoldering glare. The whole of its ox-sized body was outlined in white-hot flames.
It's coming! Sholmes's cry pierced through the thick wall of fog around us. Wisps of vapor flowed over the pistol as I cocked it, and I waited, breathlessly, in the stillness. The silence lasted for what seemed an eternity, until, at last, it appeared. From the shadows of the cloud, an enormous beast sprang out upon us. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal has ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smoldering glare. The whole of its ox-sized body was outlined in white-hot flames. Its rumbling pant and hideous howl, so terrified was I that I began to tremble with fear. "Look well, Wilson," Sholmes declared, gazing upon the mystical beast. "For this is the diabolical Hound of the Baskervilles."
Our first 2 months in London passed by in a flash. In that disconcerting courtroom experience we were first thrown into on the day we arrived in the country, and in Soseki-san's terrible ordeal that had followed closely behind, we had emerged victorious. However, there then came an abrupt end to our opportunities to appear in court, which was hardly surprising, of course, since I was nothing more than an amateur, an unknown student of law from a faraway land. So life in our little office was very quiet. That is, until it was shattered one day by that fateful telegram. Legal Consultancy, huh? That morning, I was woken by the unreserved knocking on the door by the telegram boy. But after he'd gone, Susato-san's behavior became very obviously strange. Susato-san? Yes. Is it time to leave for court already? Let me see. What case is it today? I don't think I'm scheduled to defend anyone at the moment, am I? Oh, no, of course not. How silly of me. But I think Iris said she would make us breakfast this morning. So, shall we go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite? It's an unnecessary S. Yes. Iris makes the most delicious breakfast food. She does, doesn't she? And once our bellies are full, we can leave for court in fighting fit form. Let me see. What case is it today? Here we go again. So, what was it about? The telegram that was delivered this morning, I mean. Oh, a telegram? I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, but you're not going to get away with that. No, I didn't think I would. Actually, don't give it a moment's thought. It's nothing interesting. Boring, in fact. It was just a boring old telegram. That's 3 times now that she's tried and failed to convince me it was nothing. I promise that I'll tell you about it at some point. All right, I understand. I suppose Soseki-san will have arrived back in Japan by now, won't he? Yes, I should think so. He left immediately after that terrible ordeal. Which would mean he should have completed the voyage already, or be just a few days away. A fortnight ago, we had that very long telegram from him, do you remember? Complaining of seasickness. But by and large, it seems the voyage has been going well. Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san? I was just wondering, what might have become of Soseki-san had he stayed in London, that's all. I mean, as regards Lord Van Zeeks, the Reaper? Yes. Can't help wondering if seasickness would have paled into insignificance in that case. What is it they say? That no one who stands in the dock can be saved from the Reaper, right? Here we go again with the flashbacks. Like the way that nightmarish trial ended on the very day we arrived in London. Even 2 months on, the cause of that dreadful fire is still a mystery. Yes, but at least Soseki-san is safely out of the country now. Presumably that means that the curse of the Reaper can only take effect within the confines of the city of London, perhaps? Even if that's the case, it's little comfort. I have a terrible sense of foreboding. If the legend of the Reaper is to be believed, it would mean he wields the sword of justice himself. Come to think of it, I wonder if what he's been up to these past 2 months. Surely not wielding that sword against more acquitted defendants. No, I don't think so. Apparently Lord Van Zeeks hasn't appeared in court once since our last encounter. Oh? Yes, since Oseki-san's trial, he's withdrawn from judicial service again, it seems. Really? Just like before, when he wasn't seen in court at all for several years. So it's just been me who's had to face him in his recent spate of trials, then? Just my luck. I wonder if luck doesn't come into it. Sorry, what was that? Oh, nothing. Never mind. Okay. Legal Consultancy. My lodgings and office located in the attic above the suite of rooms rented by Mr. Sholmes. I call it a consultancy, but clients aren't exactly beating down the door. The furniture we've moved in recently, this place is starting to feel like a real office. I suppose. The home office of the world-famous great detective and his young companion, Iris. It seems people from all over the globe come to engage his consulting detective services. When you're ready, let's go downstairs for breakfast. Morning, Runo. Morning, Susie. Good morning, Iris. Oh god, what is that? Iris. What is it, Runo? What is that terrible noise? It sounds like a cat being strangled. Ah, yes. You noticed that, did you? Hurley isn't in the best form this morning, it seems. Hello? Hello? Mr. Sholmes? Good morning. Good morning to die, perhaps. Has something happened, Mr. Sholmes? You look miserable, and the way you were playing the violin before... My analytical mind is dead. Music is dead. The world is dead. Damn this blanched existence. That's all it is, my dear fellow. Nothing of consequence. I'm afraid I don't understand. Well, Iris, isn't it time we ate? Some dry toast and insipid coffee for me, if it's not too much trouble. Oh, look, it's Wagahai. Good morning, boy. Must be some sort of tiny door for cats to use. But how did it get there? Well then, everyone, time for breakfast. Wow. Oh, wonderful. Let me help you, Iris. It would indeed be a fine day for science to die. I knew something looked different. Something's missing from Mr. Sholmes' desk. You seem to be very unhappy this morning, Mr. Sholmes. What's happened? It used to be the case that in my hands, this violin sung like the dawn chorus. Its mellissonant tones would make flowers bloom. It would. But now, muses are unamused with me. The goddesses of music have thrown me over. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? For hours I have bowed, for days even. Through the night I have endeavored to no avail. That sound, my tone, is lost. That brilliant, clear, unwavering tone. Gone forever. No more recitals of unbridled emotion. Well, you haven't been practicing much lately, have you, Hurley? Don't worry, I'm sure it'll come back to you in time. Heed my words, Mr. Naruhodo. Goddesses of the arts are fickle. One day they bestow genius on a man, the next they unmercifully withdraw it. Oh, dear. Why is this happening to me? They take the turn I have for the violin from me. What is left, for pity's sake? What is left? Deduction, perhaps? Isn't that what you're known for? Mr. Sholmes, I don't like to pry, but your desk looks rather empty today. Well done, Mr. Sato. Your observational skills do you credit. Oh, no, Mr. Sholmes, they pale into insignificance when compared to yours. You'd struggle not to notice, wouldn't you? I mean, Hurley's great analytoscope. That's at Windibank's now. Sorry, it's at a Windy Bank? No, Windibank's, the pawnbrokery. What? You mean you've pawned that enormous machine of yours? It has some considerable value, you see, quite undeservedly. But isn't it a very important machine for your work? I do wish you had consulted us if your situation had become so desperate. I should have gladly passed what little income I have to you. Dear madam, things are far from desperate. But the pawnbroker has your wonderful machine. How can it be anything but desperate? Making use of a pawnbrokery is quite ordinary here in London, I assure you. It is? Doesn't sound ordinary at all. It would seem that neither of you fully understand how pawnbrokering works. Pawnbroking. Oh? It's to understand exactly. How pawnbroking works. This will probably become relevant to the case. What did you mean when you said we didn't fully understand how pawnbroking works? To the people of London, pawnbrokeries are akin to banks. Banks? On Mondays, merchants relinquish their finest jackets and trappings to their pawnbroker of choice. With the money they receive in return, they are able to trade happily through the week. And then on Saturdays, they go to recover their things using the money they've earned. I had no idea. This has been a fascinating lesson for us. Everyone does it, you see, especially people in inner London. And should they have money to spare, they would purchase another fine jacket. Not to wear, obviously, but to pawn, should the need arise. Oh, how ingenious. So whenever we have something that's getting in the way, we leave it at Windibanks, you see. Pawnbrokery can be thought of as an extremely secure vault. Would have thought that even pawnbrokers are different here in Great Britain. Of course, you have to watch Hurley with it. Sometimes he pawns things he really shouldn't. Don't you, Hurley? What does it matter? The world is dead to me now. Okay. Well, shall we move on, then, I guess? No? Oh, yeah. So, I missed this thing. I was looking in the achievements, and it's giving a list of things you can do. Because I never actually stop in a place and do examining, we missed out on it, but apparently in the last episode when we were here, if I had examined his violin, that would have unlocked a hidden thing. Fire is burning comfortably in the grate again today. It's a very different feeling to a Japanese hibachi somehow. Oh, look at that photographic print of a lady displayed on the mantelpiece. Could it be? Yes, it must be. It's the woman. Oh, how exciting. Is that supposed to mean something to me? These are all mementos of Mr. Sholmes's past cases, I think. If he'd been involved in my case, I wonder if the beefsteak from the Carnival would be on display here. A mystery shoe, a curious hammer, some mysterious dancing men, a bust of Napoleon. Ah, what an entrancing collection. Looks like an untidy assortment of junk to me, rather like what's on my own shelves. Well, you really ought to learn to keep your things in order, Mr. Naruhodo. No favoritism there at all. Mr. Natsume's cat seems to have settled into his new home, then. Oh, yes, and I've become very attached to little Waggy. It would appear his previous owner has completely forgotten to him. Cats are unfeeling creatures. Their mews are as empty as the hearts of the muses. If Mr. Natsume had no intention of taking Waggy back to Japan, I wonder why he kept him in the first place. I expect he would have taken him if he could. But pets are strictly forbidden on board steamships in our experience. And for good reason. Terrible things can happen if the rules of passage are not obeyed. Well, I don't mind, because Waggy is adorable. Yes, he really is. Oh, yes, what about the door? I don't remember seeing that tiny thing in the main door before. Where did that come from? Oh, you noticed. You are observant, Runo. Look, I use this. It's my latest invention. But what is that? I call it the cat flap-o-mat. Cap-flatomat. Gosh, a machine for making doors just for cats? That's right. I can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Waggy in seconds. And it can do it in any door at all, no matter what it's made of. It's very powerful, you see. But wouldn't it have been quicker just to make the cat flap rather than making a machine to make the cat flap? No, yes, maybe, but now I can make cat flaps anywhere I like. Oh, I think it's wonderful. You must make one for us in the door of our office upstairs, Iris. She really knows how to come up with unconventional inventions, this girl. What the hell was that? Okay. Oh, what was that? Wakahai? What was that? Oh no! Wakahai is tangled up in your violin! I think he thinks it's a toy. No. What's he doing to it? Oh dear. Mr. Sholmes's precious violin. Why should I care? What? I shouldn't be surprised if the cat is a more accomplished musician than I now. Mr. Sholmes really is in poor spirits, isn't he? Well, anyway, I'll put it back where it lives, shall I, Hurley? Out of the cat's reach, if possible. Maybe we should assess the damage. Talk about it? No? How does one do that? Oh, there it is. So this is the violin, is it? It's a Stradivarius, one of the finest violins in the world, made by the renowned Italian luthier Antonio Stradivari. Oh, I see. Doesn't really look like anything special to me. I happened upon it covered in dust, languishing in a pawn shop down a nondescript back alley. The broker had no idea of its value, so I was able to purchase it for a mere 55 shillings. How honorable of you. And until the day, it has been my faithful companion in every great Paganini-inspired performance I have made. I ask you, is there a reason to live in a world devoid of music? To tolerate this blanched existence? No, there is none. Mr. Sholmes. What, dear madam, what? My thoughts are preoccupied with fancies of release from this dull routine. Well, it's about the violin. It looks very different to normal, don't you think? Hmm? What do you mean, Mrs. Sato? Oh, Susie's right. Yes, the tone of the wood is completely different. And that's not all. I'm sure there was no crack here before. We wouldn't know this because I didn't look at it before. Wait, it's not even the right size, is it? What's this? I'm terribly sorry to have to tell you this, Mr. Sholmes, but that instrument isn't a violin at all. Then what? I believe it's an entirely different instrument called a viola. What? What? Mr. Sholmes, are you all right? You're right, you are quite right. This isn't my faithful Stradivarius. So what, pray, is this piece of stringed flotsam? Not your faithful performing partner, then. I see what must have happened. You do, Iris? This is just a simple mix-up. It sounds like Iris might be able to tell us exactly what's happened if we ask her. I guess we have to ask her. What did you mean by mix-up, Iris? Well, you see, this violin... sorry, this viola, I mean... was at Windibank's until last week. At the pawnbroker's? Not Mr. Sholmes' beloved musical partner. There is a proverb from the East which you are no doubt familiar with, my dear fellows. Always let a beloved child travel. Yes, indeed. So you sent your beloved violin to the pawnbrokers in the hope that it would experience personal growth? Oh, what a wonderful idea. Last week I pawned my great analytoscope. I said the word once before, I don't know why I struggled over that. My great analytoscope in order to release my precious instruments. But it would appear Mr. Windibank mistakenly furnished me with this tawdry fiddle instead. But my ears cannot be deceived by the hollow timbre of this piece of timber. No, but your every sense was deceived by the fact that it just had strings. A fine state of affairs this is, and why I always say, Mr. Naruhodo, never trust a pawnbroker. they will try to fiddle you every time. But earlier you told us that you could think of a pawnbrokery as an extremely secure vault. Come, Mr. Naruhodo, dilly-dallying will get you nowhere. Sorry? Crunching your toast with that vacant aspect? Pressing your coffee so obtusely? Are you not a little embarrassed by your own conduct, considering the urgency with which we are faced? You must visit Mr. Windibank's brokery at once. That's right, isn't it, Mr. Holmes? Precisely, Miss Sasato, without a moment's delay. But I haven't finished my bacon and eggs. My dear fellow, surely you do not still intend to crunch your bacon with an increasingly vacant aspect, to fresh your egg ever more obtusely? What the fuck are you talking about? Alright, say no more, let's go then. Oh, don't worry, Bruno, I'd be happy to heat it up for you again later. Oh, thank you, Iris. As it happens, I am rather curious to see what a British pawnbrokers look like. I guess we're going. A new location has been added. Looks like 2 locations, in fact. A pawnbroker's shop on Baker Street. Mr. Sholmes is a regular, it seems. Let's go. So this is a British pawnbrokery. Brokery is such a weird, like, wouldn't you call it a... whatever. Anyway, oh my. There are all sorts of tools and contraptions in here that I've never laid eyes on before. Ah, Susato-san, and that spark of wonder in your eyes. Can't wait to scour the shelves, can you? I get the impression you enjoy places like this. Oh yes, I don't know why, but seeing such a lot of things I don't understand is a real thrill for me. My dear fellows, let us not forget why we are here. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. We are calling on matters of business, not pleasure. Clearly Mr. Sholmes means business too, judging from the spark of fury in his eyes. What the fuck is your voice going to be? Mr. Sholmes, welcome back. Did you hear that brazen welcome? Well, yes, we are potential customers after all. We are disgruntled customers, Mr. Naruhodo, and it's time to inform Mr. Windibank of our ire. Come, the fight is afoot. Naturally, you will recall this, which I retrieved from you some days ago. Yes? This second-rate fiddle is not my faithful instrument, Mr. Windibank. The color of the wood is different. It has holes in it. It's not even the same size. A wonderful summary of our observations, Mr. Sholmes. I'm so very sorry, sir. How utterly unforgivable of me. An inexcusable mistake for a pawnbroker. There's only one way to make amends. Oh, I thought he was going to run away. I shall have to take my own life. I don't think that will be necessary, do you? If I may just say one thing before I pop off. Yes? It was you, sir, Mr. Sholmes, who took it upon himself to remove the item the other day, I believe. Sorry? As I recall, I entered the storeroom to fetch a violin when I heard, here it is. You did? And when I turned to controvert you, you had taken the viola and left, sir. That's a very... However, there can be no doubt that the blame lies firmly at my own door for allowing you to leave. So I shall not grumble or grouse any longer. May this guilt die with me. No, stop, my dear fellow. The fault is mine. Phew. Okay. It would appear that the fight is over. I do humbly apologize, Mr. Windibank. Evidently my questionable disposition precipitated this tragedy. Well, you wouldn't be Mr. Sherlock Holmes without that questionable disposition, now would you? I do believe you may be right, sir. Either laugh or cry, I suppose. You are, it must be said, one of my more challenging customers. I needn't remind you of the peculiar collection of items you've brought through my door in the past. Oh? Peculiar items? In the extreme, ma'am. For example, the unpublished manuscript of an eponymous work, the novels of Sherlock Holmes or some such. Why, a new full-fledged novel? And unpublished? A story I have yet to read, you mean? Forgive me. Wait, before you die, you must tell me more. I must know more. Tell me everything. Oh, Susato-san is really fired up now. Is there really an unpublished story under this very roof? Well, one day the gentleman here brought in an old metal chest, you see. I should like to entrust this to your care for a while, Mr. Windibank. For a chest like that, 1 shilling, sir, not a farthing more. It houses something of great value indeed. The latest manuscripts, recounting the adventures of one Mr. Sherlock Holmes. I beg your pardon, a manuscript? You wish to deposit a manuscript? Indeed I do, for I am confident it will be safe, quite safe, here. And that was that. As such, Mr. Sholmes's latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom. Mr. Sholmes, is that really true? I sense that someone doesn't want to talk about this. I continue to pay your fee, do I not? Then kindly continue to store my belongings securely. Yeah, of course, sir, of course. They're safe and sound with me, I assure you, on my life. It is all very strange. I wonder, could I ask you something? A gentleman from the east, I see. Yes, that sable suit. I suppose I could offer you 6 for it. Without wishing to offend, the tone is somewhat dull. Sorry? Your splendid attire, ma'am. 5 guineas, no less. The colors are exquisite, the design exotic. Eastern artistry is at its finest, may I say. Oh my, 5 guineas, you say? How interesting. Why do I feel as though I've suffered some sort of defeat here? Actually, I was hoping to ask you about your business. I've heard it said that pawnbrokeries are used rather like banks here in London. Yes, sir, indeed. Many of my customers utilize the establishment as you describe. I appraise their items and offer them a proportionate loan of 2 months of secure storage. If, in that time, they repay the original sum to me, plus the agreed interest, the items are happily returned. What happens if they don't pay you the money? And then the items are offered for sale in my shop, as you can see on the shelves behind me. So you never sell items before the 2 months has passed, then? That's right, ma'am, that's right. Which means some considerable responsibility rests on my shoulders. Should a customer's precious belongings be lost, the only recompense is for me to end it all. The very idea, Mr. Windibank, is an absurdity. One should never talk of one's demise so casually, says the man who was telling us all it was a good day to die only this morning. And let us not forget that I have already helped you take measures to ensure such a tragedy never occurs. Oh, what sort of measures? I engineered a simple device which Mr. Windibank has installed here in his shop. I call it a red-handed recorder. Recorder. Is that not so, Mr. Windibank? What was that deep sigh about? What on earth is a red-handed recorder? Use your eyes, my dear fellow. 2 just below the ceiling. I can see what appears to be a camera attached to some sort of timing device. Very astute. It is indeed a camera, furnished with some 100 pieces of celluloid film. and every 30 minutes precisely the camera automatically records the appearance of the shop. Here, I have an example I can show you. Ah yes, a print from the camera set to record the activity at the shop counter. I developed a special type of film so sensitive it produces a crystal clear image even in darkness. Is this going to end up being a spot the difference minigame? Really? That's extraordinary. Yes, you can clearly see the counter and the door behind it. Look! And in color, no less. So you see, if someone entered the premises with ill intent, his identity would be summarily exposed. But did you not say that the photographic prints were taken at 30-minute intervals? Indeed, as you say, my dear madam. Then what if the incident were to occur in between times? One could only say that would be a cruel twist of fate. I must confess, your devices have been giving me some cause for distress of late. Beg your pardon, Mr. Winterbank. Surely they are anything but distressing. Reassuring is the word. It's the cost of the film, sir. You most graciously placed not one, but 2 cameras in my shop, after all. Which means I must pay for nigh on 100 utterly useless prints every single day. I'm afraid the cost of the film will break me before I'm very much older. Nevertheless, a small price to pay to ensure the safety of my preferred pawnbroker, eh, now? My dear fellows, we verge on an age where safety and security come at a price. Oh, heaven help us. Now then, Mr. Sholmes, allow me to return your precious violin. Ah, the very thing. Thank you, Mr. Winterbank. Perhaps this might mark the end of the peculiar items you try to pop, Because if anything were to happen to one of them, this would be the only answer. I really think you ought to stop waving that gun around. Someone could get hurt. Fear not. Sorry? I've only loaded a single bullet, so no one but myself could possibly be harmed. Okay, that's a piece of information I'm willing to bet is going to come into play later. That's not really what I meant. Good day to you then, Mr. Winterbank. It's been a pleasure as always, Mr. Sholmes. So, Mr. Naruhodo. Now we can explore at last. I guess we can, sure. Look at that enormous ledger open on the counter there. Mr. Winterbank's, if nothing else, very, very particular. Fuck. I'm not in a mind to be switching between fake voices anymore. Very particular about recording the items he accepts. You have to be, otherwise he'd get himself into all sorts of trouble. Which might explain the thing that catches my eye far more than the ledger. This revolver here. Do not entertain even a single thought of pilfering an article herein, my dear fellow. Huh? I assure you, Mr. Winterbank would not hesitate to draw that weapon with the speed belying his portly size. Oh, you don't mean he'd blow his brains out? Indeed, in recompense for his blunder. Oh my. But in any case, of course we would never do such a thing. How could you even suggest it? What was that? There seems to be a little door hidden behind that curtain there. That leads to the storage room, where Mr. Winterbank keeps articles that are currently in pawn. I see. There's nothing of particular interest inside. I certainly wouldn't recommend any larcenous activity. Recommended or not, it's not something I tend to do. There is but one key, and Mr. Winterbank keeps it in his pocket at all times. Before he sleeps, he places it into a small pot, which he slides under this pillow. That must be uncomfortable. How on earth do you know that, Mr. Sholmes? I'm a detective, sir. It is my business to know what others do not. I'm frequently assailed by information that I neither care for nor wish to retain, so he doesn't have a mind palace in this one, I guess. Mr. Sholmes, you are a wonder, and the prime suspect of this pawnbroker he has ever burgled. Look at this. Look at this lovely big shiny box bee. That, my dear madam, is a music box. Surely you have such things in your own country. My, yes, but I've certainly never seen one so large before. Shall we listen a while? Or why not? Let's risk copyright. Oh, what a sublime sound. It's like the music of angels. I've never heard anything like it before in my life. This particular specimen is of a larger variety commonly found in public houses and restaurants. There is a metal disc inside on which the notes to be played are recorded. Simply by replacing the disc with another, any music you care to imagine can be played. My goodness, what a simply delightful machine. Indeed, though their popularity has waned recently with the development of the gramophone, of course. Science and technology advance at such an overwhelming pace. What an assortment of things there are on these shelves here. Crockery, footwear, clocks, and watches. Almost anything you care to imagine. Almost. Those are forfeited items offered for sale by the pawnbroker. What does that really mean, though? When you pawn, or colloquially pop, an item, the broker loans you money against its worth. He stores the item for an agreed period of time, after which the loan must be repaid. If not, he is free to display it in his shop for sale at a price of his choosing. Oh yes, now you've explained it, I'm noticing little price tags on everything. Of course, simply by paying the agreed interest on the loan, one can extend the period for safekeeping. So you may pawn that black garb of yours without fear, my dear fellow. I'm not sure. It's black. Why does everyone say it's black? Is this one of those gold and blue dress things? My treasured university uniform? Never. It embodies my student spirit. What do you suppose this rather enormous machine does? It seems to have two little windows for looking through. Allow me to enlighten you, my dear fellows. What you are looking at is a stereoscope. Fascinating. It is aptly named, I assure you. Look through the eyepieces and see for yourself. I should be delighted to. Excuse me a moment while I just have a look. Just before you do, there is something I should point out. My dear fellows, in order to see the image properly, stereoscopically, as it were, you will need to be cross-eyed. However, if that is beyond you, it is of little consequence today. Alright then, I'm going to try it. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, you must see, at once. Alright then. So I need to be cross-eyed, like I'm trying to look at my own nose. That's one of these. See, I can... Oh, okay. I can do this. Normally these sorts of things come out backwards. Oh my god. What the... I don't believe it. It's just a photographic print, but it seems like you could reach out and touch it. Yes, the sense of depth is startling, is it not? Stereoscopes are one of London's many fads. They are often found in little stalls in the park. People queue for hours to see them. Why? Why are people meddling with such black magic? It is no magic, my dear madam. It is, well, far too complicated to explain at present. We shall save this lesson for another day. Oh. Alright. Guess I can actually move this around with the keys instead of just dragging it everywhere. Look at this. Whatever could it be used for? I have no idea. Ah. There's a small catch just here. Look. We're going to open it, aren't we? Oh my, that's amazing. It has some sort of spring-loaded mechanism, which we'll never manage to put back to the way it was before. Hmm? What are you two doing? What? Us? Nothing. No, nothing at all. Whatever this device is, it seems to have a pair of little windows to look through. I feel as though I've seen something rather similar to this elsewhere. It's not a calendar you could easily miss, is it? 15th of April, today's date. Yes, that's not for sale, I must point out. It's an Eastern-style page-a-day calendar. Every night at midnight I tear off the front page to reveal the following day's date. The perfect calendar for a tearaway fellow such as yourself, Mr. Winterbank. And who was it who walked out of here with the wrong violin before? Well, when the agreed storage period is passed without repayments, articles are forfeited, you see. So I have to keep a close eye on the date. It's something of a pawnbroker's obsession, you might say. Well, yes, I can see you're very dedicated to your job. I keep it up. Well, only tuppence for it. That ain't fair, and you know it. This article is barely worth a penny, miss. I cannot offer more. Who is this? I don't know who I'm giving this voice to. Sounds like there's an argument brewing over by the counter. Come on, that can be right. Have you ever had a proper butcher's at it? I've seen all I need to see, young girl. Who are we talking to? Yeah, this one. Wait, don't we know? I'm sure I recognize her. Oh yes, it's the young lady. Mr. McGilded's trial 2 months ago. Her name is Gina Lestrade. She's a chancer, earns her crust among large crowds or leaving people their purses. They pickpocket. She's trying to filth stuff. Gordon Bennett, you lot! Hello, Miss Lestrade. I hope you've been well. Eh, well, you remember me then, do you? Well, I remember being completely surrounded by smoke, that's for sure. So, what are you doing in here? Down and out like the rest of us? Nothing to eat? Come to pop that black weasel? Sorry, coat, have you? What is it about this black uniform that makes everyone comment on it? Ah, good day, unless I'm much mistaken. Would be the young pickpocket who stole our experimental smoke grenade launcher. Mr. Sholmes! So, you have something of value to pawn, do you? Allow me to see the article, and I shall negotiate with Mr. Winterbank on your behalf. Oh, the other one. I don't need no help from some stuck-up D. Get out of my business. Go on, or I'll make trouble for you. As you wish, Miss Lestrade. I'll happily remove myself from your presence. He was a ghost. He's really done it. He's gone. I'm sorry, but as I said, there's really no room for negotiation here. What is that thing he has in his hand? Some kind of metal disc? And you, go on, leave me alone. Oh, Miss Lestrade, just pretend we aren't here. We shan't be offended in the slightest. Susato-san can really stand her ground when she wants to. Whatever. You know what? The scene's probably almost already done. Okay, let's keep going. Somehow, I didn't really think you were the sort of person who'd use a pawnbroker, Miss Lestrade. Yeah, well, I am, alright. I'm a Londoner, just like everyone else. No problem, is it? No, not at all. It's just that, well... Oh, I get it. I know what you're thinking. That thing probably don't even belong to her. Probably got it on the dive, didn't she? Yeah, I can see it all over you. Written all over your Chevy Chase. Well, I might have been thinking something along those lines. You're not going to deny it, Mr. Naruhodo? Alright then, I'm just going to come out and ask you straight. Do you pawn things that you steal from other people? Well, no, I don't know how best to answer that, really. Suppose sometimes. You're not going to deny it either, Miss Lestrade? Not this time, alright? I swear. That thing belongs to me. The disc that Mr. Winterbank is holding. Perhaps we should see what he has to say about all this. Mr. Winterbank, what exactly is this metal disc that Miss Lestrade has brought in? It seems to have hundreds of tiny little bumps on its surface. This is a music disc, you see, for use inside a music box. In a music box. What, you don't even know what a music box is? You Eastern lot ain't too savvy. Actually, I can't even fucking read anymore. I know what a music box is. Just never seen one of those discs before. The small protrusions on the metal disc encode the tune to be played by the music box. You simply insert the disc and set the machine going, and beautiful music plays. That's so incredible. Tell us, what tune is on the disc? Oh, well, I'm afraid I couldn't tell you that. There are so many different types of music box, you see. British-made, German, Swiss. I have no way of knowing which particular machine this disc was made for. I see. And that's it in a nutshell. I wouldn't have any customers for an item like this even if the young lady forfeited it. Really, I'm already offering more than I should at a penny. It's a packet of lies. He told me he did. He said it was, well... He? Who? Never you mind. It just ain't right, that's all. That desk's worth good money, I know it is. Well then, you'll have to try your luck at another pawnbroker's, won't you? She's been in before, of course, this little what? Tatterdemalion? I see. And brought some dubious article or other with her every single time, I might add. Dubious? What are you trying to say? I'm an honest customer, me. So, is there something dubious about the disc she brought in today? Well, if only it were that simple. Sorry? What do you mean? What she actually brought in was a storage ticket. A storage ticket? So, Miss Lestrade has actually come to redeem an article from you today, is that right? Yeah, that's right. A girl like me has a lot of stuff what needs storing. Right, yes, that's definitely dubious. The article in question would have been forfeited at midnight tonight, but as she gave me the ticket for it and repaid both the loan and the interest, I was obliged to return the article to her. But what was the article? You tell us, Mr. Winterbank. The little scamp is wearing it, ma'am. It's the overcoat that she redeemed. Oh. What? What's wrong with that? It fits, don't it? I mean, it's mine, so of course it does. So what about the disc, then? How does that come into all this? The disc is something else. A new article to pawn if the girl and I can agree a price. Go on. I'm confused. I thought you said that Miss Lestrade brought in a storage ticket today. It's really quite simple. Yes, the child brought me a storage ticket and the money owed on it, as you say. this heavy black coat which you returned to her care, as I'd understood it? That's right, yes. And rather unsurprisingly, as soon as the little ragamuffin put the thing on, she went rifling through the pockets. Oh, you mean... What? Don't you know it's rude to stare at a lady? I see. So it came from the pocket of the overcoat, did it? If you mean this disc, then yes, exactly, ma'am. And she immediately tried to pawn it. For quite a high price as well. This is all rather suspicious, I think. Give it up. We're just trying to pawn something like anyone else would. Miss Lestrade, may I ask who deposited the overcoat here in the first place? Well, me. It doesn't really appear to be your size. Me old man. It's me old man's, ain't it? Is it, Miss Lestrade? Yes, this is definitely all rather suspicious. Out of my way, please. Who's this picture postcard English gentleman? I don't know, but we'll find out next time.